Hello and welcome to the Best Of. I am your host, Ricky Tucker. Today we have a very special guest by the name of Gwendolyn Tucker, and we're going to be doing a special show dedicated to you, our audience. You're going to be talking with the Tuckers, and I think by the time you see our guest, you'll know that we are not related. We're not siblings, but you'll see that we are related by marriage. And our topic today is really focusing on remembering to be your best. Our guest, once again, is none other than Gwendolyn Tucker. Hello, Gwendolyn. How are you?
Great. Thank you for welcoming me here today.
Good. I tell you, it's just with such pleasure that I sit here and talk with you. So I'm excited, and hopefully before the show is over, our audience will really have a lot more information in their toolkit for life, if you will. So what we're going to do today is really talk about some different areas in life. Our tagline is, remember to always be your best, and the show is the best of. We've been talking about helping businesses, helping people in entertainment, sports, and the community. And now we really want to focus on those individuals that are looking at the show on a regular basis. So we're going to be talking about some key areas. And these areas are going to be areas such as health. We're going to talk a bit about getting rest and sleep, a sufficient amount. We'll talk about exercise because we realize that our health is our wealth, and one of the things that you talk about often is just that. And so, audience, you should know I'm going to be taking some quotes from Gwen, better known as Coach Gwen to some too. So I'm going to be taking some of her quotes, and one of them is, your health is your wealth. Then we're going to talk about some about diet and nutrition. Those are the areas that we'll cover in health. We'd like to talk about family and friends because we realize too that that's important. That is a very important part of our lives, our overall circle of life, if you will. And we'll be talking about quality time, and that quality time that you'll really want to not spend but invest, because it really is an investment of time. We'll talk about careers, work-life balance, spiritual, and that quality quiet time for those of us that really know about that will be able to identify with it. And those that haven't been introduced to that quality quiet time, this is something that's going to be a new thing for them. So we're excited about that. Personal growth. And there are just so many tools out there to offer. And these come in the form of books, primarily audio books, and just educational books, different kinds of self-help books. So we're going to be talking about that. The next one is going to be really easy because it's going to be focusing on fun and recreation, the things that you like to do, those hobbies, those kinds of things. And then we're going to wrap things up with a 30-day challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually going to ask you to make a commitment to improve upon your lives in these different areas. And what we'd like to do is to ask you to grab a pen and paper, because we may be sharing some things with you that you'll want to jot down first and foremost. And then finally, we do want to go ahead and give you some information so that you'll be able to contact us in case you have any questions, so that we can help you to help yourself and those others to be your best. We can be reached at 901-870-7492. That's 901-870-RIX2. And we can also be reached by email at rixinternational@msn.com. rixinternational@msn.com. And you can also Facebook me, Ricky Tucker, at Facebook. So looking forward to hearing from you. And without further ado, let's talk some with Gwen and just really kind of dig into these 6 key areas. First of all, let's talk about health. Mm-hmm. And some of these things you've already engaged in and you've already made a commitment to. So let's talk about health, the areas of rest and sleep.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I find especially that helps me in the area of health is on getting the proper amount of rest. Many times we think that we can get by on 4 or 5 hours of rest each evening, but I'm finding that I need more rest. And really research shows that 6 to 8 hours, really 7 to 8 hours is the standard, and that is very beneficial for individuals. One thing that might get in the way of proper rest is really staying up too late watching television. And so an opportunity might be for individuals to try to get to bed, even if it's 15 or 30 minutes earlier, in order to get more rest and to increase the amount of rest that they get, because sharper and more alert as they do that.
Yeah. You have talked in the past about the value of rest and the reason that it's so important to get that extended time of rest, because you've talked in the past about getting to a different level of sleep and how that really replenishes you physically and mentally. So what can you tell us a little bit more just about getting to that level of deep sleep and deep resting?
In doing some research, I found, and I would encourage anyone to do more research on their own and to make sure that they actually talk to their physician before they make any major changes in the area of health. But research shows that when we can sleep and we actually dream, that allows us to get into a deep sleep where our body is really replenished. Many times we think that if we're lying on the sofa, maybe watching television, those kinds of things, that it's rest. And I think to a degree it is. But for an extended time, it's no longer rest. And so rest is when you can rest your mind and your brain can get replenished, when you actually have deep sleep and invest in getting consistent sleep night after night.
So I have a question. This is a rhetorical question, but this is really kind of for all of the guys out there. So you mean to tell me that if a guy is sitting in his lazy boy recliner and he just falls asleep and he's sleeping there half the night or all night, that's not good sleep?
It may not be, especially when you wake up and you don't feel rested. Many times when we talk to people about time management and if they can get an extra hour added to the day, what would they do with it? And most people say they would get more rest, sleep more.
Good.
That's an indication that they're probably not getting enough rest.
Okay,
So.
great. Now let's move on to exercise, because most people think, I don't exercise because I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to put on my workout gear. I don't have the time to get to a particular place and all of that. So can you tell me some things about exercise as they relate to maybe some of the things that you do that may be helpful for the people in the audience?
What really helps me is to be able to exercise in the morning. That helps me because usually the longer I put it off, typically I might not get it done. And right now my goal is to exercise 30 minutes each day. Most of the reports and research indicates that you should exercise 3 to 4 times per week. But quite frankly, I found that I wasn't doing that, and so it really helps me to exercise each day. One of the things that we enjoy doing is actually just walking in the neighborhood. And I know you mentioned you just read an article about walking and the importance of walking. So maybe you want to share a little bit more about that.
Absolutely, and just so that you'll know, we brought some things to share with you. So this one is just really hot off the press as we were preparing to come to the studio today. This one just came to us. So this is just an article that came in actually in the mail today, and it said the only exercise you'll ever need is walking. So, and it's something that most of us can do. For those that may have some situation and they actually cannot, if if they could just move about, is really that next best thing to walking. But just movement, any kind of activity, whether it's physical activity, and or positive mental activity. So walking at its very least is something that we can do. And we've got some more tips and more information that we're going to be sharing with everyone throughout the show.
And one thing about walking is that typically what you really need would be comfortable attire, comfortable clothes, and a good pair of walking shoes so that your feet are supported. But as I said earlier, I would encourage anyone before you embark or make a change that you actually talk to your doctor and talk to a health professional about the changes that you're planning to make before you do anything that might jeopardize, and might even jeopardize your health.
Right. One of the things too that I just thought about as you were talking, I can recall one of the assignments that I had every time I took a break, which was about 15 minutes. I found myself just going outside and walking, maybe picking up voice. And before I realized, I was walking an average of about 45 minutes to an hour extra every day. So just a tip for you folks that may get a break versus going to the water cooler or the coffee machine or a soda machine, to just walk a bit. And if you can't walk outside, it's always good to just walk up and down the steps. We've even seen people walk in the malls.
Exactly. Another tip that I picked up several years ago is, instead of parking closest to the door of the store or what have you, or the office or where you work, park as far away as possible. That way you get in more steps and a little bit more exercise into your day. So that's also an option.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Let's move on to diet and nutrition. And that's something that I will say that I appreciate you for really helping to keep me on track there. And I think continue to work as a team. As you say, we live, work, and play together. But working as a team, thinking in terms of diet and nutrition, what kinds of tips would you like to share with everybody there?
Well, one thing that is personal and that applies definitely to me is really the focus on sweets and salt. I really like desserts and I like sweets. But I find that as I monitor myself more in the areas of sweets and sugar that's in my diet, and especially salt or sodium that's in my diet, I feel a lot better when I'm not eating as much of it. So, and I, of course, have a family history where diabetes and hypertension and those kinds of things are in my family, and I want to avoid that. One thing that I really appreciate is you're helping me not eat as many fast foods and processed foods as I have in the past, because I'm getting a taste for eating maybe more fruit and nuts, those kinds of things that are healthier. So I want to say kudos to you for helping me do that.
Well, thank you very much, and not a problem at all. And you talked about family history. I will proudly say to the audience that it is because of some situations that I've found in my family that I changed my eating habits as early as when I was 16 years old. At 16, I stopped eating pork. And about 4 years later, I stopped eating beef. And I wouldn't say to anybody that you necessarily have to stop, but I would say that we'd want to monitor it. I will also add that since I have not, over that number of years, that I really feel incredible most of the time. I'll also invite any of you or each of you, whenever you see the Tuckers anywhere, usually we have, but they are healthy snacks, and they're things like nuts, almonds, walnuts, craisins, raisins, apples, oranges, blueberries, and those are the kinds of things that that we really enjoy, and we've learned to enjoy them. And typically, if we're driving around, we usually have someplace in the car. So feel free to spot check with us whenever, if ever you see us out there. And we would like to say too that we've been working with a young man, a gentleman that we know by the name of Tony Knox. He kind of gives us some health tips as well as some exercising tips. So we really appreciate that. That's another thing too that we would say for people to do, is to really maybe get to a gym or find someone, or to go online and find exercises, which this young man actually has some online.
I would also like to say on the nutrition piece, frequent Subway quite a bit.
Yeah.
And in going to Subway, oftentimes we will split a sub versus eating a foot long.
Absolutely.
And so that really cuts down on the calories and helps as well. So
Absolutely.
that's been a good, because even when we travel,
Yeah.
we often find a Subway.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, so I appreciate you for bringing that out. Let's move on to something that's just near and dear to me, and that's family and friends, and talking about that quality time.
One of the things that I have found, especially living away from my family for a long period of time, my parents and my siblings, I've had an opportunity to make sure that I reach out more closely with my family and keep in touch. And most times we have to keep in touch by phone because of the family that's out of town. But now, thanks to you, I also have family in town. So we get a chance to have some quality time, meals together, making sure that we get a chance to talk with each other and not allow distance or things, life getting in the way from day to day, to just
Absolutely.
cultivate those relationships with family and friends who are like family.
Yes.
Because there are people who they're not family by blood, but they're like family.
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that we keep in touch with them on a consistent basis and keep that connection strong.
Yes. Well, I'll concur, and obviously with my dad being my only living parent right now, and being right down the street, sometimes with him being a pilot, he's all over the place, but we at least get an opportunity to talk by phone and get a chance to visit one another at church, along with my aunt that I refer to as my mom, and my cousin that I refer to as my little sister, along with our other friends and family members that we interact with, up to and including us going to have dinner with my grandmother every week after church. She and my great uncle, or our great uncle, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that quality time is just really critical, and it takes. It can't be replaced. So
Exactly.
that's something that cannot be replaced. And for those people that do have your family members near you geographically, and particularly those of you who have your parents that are still around, really embrace them, because I tell you what, those are times that you could really develop some memories, and that's really awesome.
I would like to say one other thing as it relates to family, and especially to our listening audience, is for those who, many times husbands and wives in the same house together, or children in the same house together, that oftentimes, because we're in close proximity, we think we're having quality time, but we don't really have that quality time. And one of the things that I really like that we try to focus on is making sure that we at least have meals together, or at least talk and have that quality time. So that's very important.
Great. That is really a key point, and I'm glad that you brought that out, because that's something that we have gotten away from. I know when I was a little guy, I can remember having breakfast and dinner together all the time, and of course we do that, but there are a number of families that are really like ships passing in the night. So that's a good point. Let's move on and talk about career, and talking about the balancing of work and life, personal life.
Oftentimes, because we invest, if you will, so much time at work, it's hard to balance all these other areas. And so I just the point I'd like to make here, to make sure that in the midst of the work that we also don't forget to live life, because really work funds all the other parts of life.
Awesome. We're going to kind of pick the pace up and talk about these other areas. But before we do that, we'd like to remind the listening audience that they can reach us at 901-870-7492. We can also be reached by email at rixinternational@msn.com. And yes, you can Facebook me, Ricky Tucker. So we'll look forward to hearing from you. And once again, we're going to be talking to you about a 30-day challenge. So stay tuned for that. And let's move on now to spiritual, that quality quiet time. Can you kind of briefly tell us some things about that?
I find that when I can have some quiet time in the mornings, at least 30 minutes, that just helps me plan my day. That helps me settle down and kind of get my flight plan, if you will. day. But that really helps me just to get prepared for the day, being able to invest that time. And I know for you, that's a time for you to be able to think through what you want to do during the day and how you want to get your day started, those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
That's what I find for good quality quiet time in the mornings.
That is true, and as you said, for me, my mind is pretty clear at that time, and then there are a number of things that maybe I've thought about during the evening, and if I have not written them down during the evening, then that morning I would want to write those things out. And thanks to you, I've become more conditioned to getting up and reading in the morning as well. So I just like to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to personal growth. And we've got some titles that we'd like to share with some people. But let's talk a little bit about the reading, inspiring, and educational books.
Well, one of my goals is to read at least one book a month. And I want it to be educational, inspiring. Many times it's very easy to read work-related or business-related books. But one of the things that I'm reading now is entitled I Am Potential. And that book is by John Patrick Henry. And it's a really Patrick Henry Hughes is the name of the author. And he, along with his father, they have written this book together, and the father's name is Patrick John Hughes. But just an awesome book. So, but that helps me reach one of my goals of reading at least one book per month. That means I read at least 12 books per year in different areas. Sometimes it's fiction, sometimes it's not.
Great. And I'm looking here at the book, and it is I Am Potential. 8 Lessons on Living, Loving, and Reaching Your Dreams. And again, it's by Patrick Henry Hughes with Patrick John Hughes and Bryant Stamford. We're going to share a few other books with you too. One here is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This is an old one, but it is a must read. And there's also the series of 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families, as well as 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. So we would encourage you to look for that. We've got just a few more here that we'd like to share with you. One is Who Moved My Cheese? And Who Moved My Cheese is a #1 national bestseller, was at one time and obviously still is. And it's an amazing way to deal with change in the workplace and in your life. So we would encourage you to look for this one, and we're going to tell you some tips on where to find these books at a very reasonable price. This one is one that we just recently found, and it's called Building Trust: How to Get It and How to Keep It. This is a very powerful book, and we'd like to ask you to look for it. And if by chance you can't find it, feel free once again to contact us at ricksinternational.com or, at ricksinternational@msn.com, or you can just simply call me at 901-870-7492. This book is a must read, particularly for those of you who are in leadership and management roles. And this one is hot off the press. Thanks to Mr. William Anderson. This was a gift, and it's called The Energy Bus. And the Energy Bus is 10 rules to fuel your life, work, and team with positive energy. This one is by John Gordon, and we are finalizing this one now and really excited about it. So these are some areas that we'd like for you to really focus on, and some of the books that we'd like for you to think about getting for yourselves as well, and they make perfect gifts. So we would encourage you to look at that. And thank you very much, Coach Gwen, for the idea of bringing those books today, because they're going to be really helpful and life-changing to some people. So we really appreciate that, and thanks a lot for sharing that. We're going to move on and talk about something that is easy for everybody, and that is fun and recreation. And I didn't say fun, I said fun, because that's it. That's easy to do, and obviously it's enjoyable. So let's talk about some of those things that could be enjoyable, and some things that people may not really view as fun, or maybe they don't focus on making it fun.
One of the things that we enjoy doing, and I think the piece that makes it fun, get a chance to do it together, is volunteering in the community, like for instance with the local food bank or a program with our local YWCA called Common Ground, or also going to basketball games. We
Yes.
enjoy that. So that's something we really enjoyed and enjoy doing it together. So I think finding those things that are fun, that you enjoy and can make the most of it, to encourage you to do that.
Great. That sounds real good. Well, as you were talking, I thought about something that a young lady mentioned to us, and she was sharing with some other people, that I really didn't think in terms of as being as fun as it was, and the fact that someone else really realized that it was just really exciting. We were having lunch one day. We did something together and we were having lunch. And I remembered preparing lunch and a picnic basket. So we spread out the table, a picnic right there at the location. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's those kinds of things that that you can do to really make a difference in your life. And quite honestly, you can get a few points too. So that makes it really great. Once again, we'd like to share with you how, if you have any questions about any of these things, to contact us at 901-870-7492. We can be reached by email at ricksinternational@msn.com. And yes, once again, on Facebook at Ricky Tucker. You can find us there. Now, we are down to the challenge. We talked about health, family, career, spiritual, personal growth, fun, and recreation. Now what we'd like to do is to ask you to think of one thing that you can do in the next 30 days that will make a noticeable difference in life. As it said in the book on the Energy Bus, as the Energy Bus talks about really you being the bus driver of your own bus. So what we'd like for you to do is to just, in this 30-day challenge, really focus on what you can do to make a noticeable difference. And Gwen, would you share some information there?
Yes. One thing is we want them to only select one thing, because many times when we try to do too many things, we either get discouraged or overwhelmed. And many times we kind of fall off the bus, if you will. Mm-hmm. One of my opportunities or challenge area that I will work on is really getting more rest. Setting a consistent time to go to bed in the evening and to make sure that I get 7 to 8 hours of rest, so that when I awake in the morning, I do feel rested. And that involves turning the television off early and getting in bed and getting a little bit more rest.
Well, there you have the 30-day challenge from Gwen, or Coach Gwen, as some people know her as. And I will make my commitment. My commitment will be on focus. So my commitment will be on focusing on the task at hand and completing it. So you've got Gwen of Tucker and Tucker that has focused on rest, and you've got Ricky Tucker that is focusing on just that. Focus. So what we'd like to do, once again, is say to you that it has certainly been my pleasure to have a very special guest, Gwendolyn Tucker, and you have really been talking with the Tuckers, and we've talked about remembering to always be your best. We really wanted to give you this as a listening audience, these tips that we are really life and students of self-improvement, and we really wanted to share this gift with you. So we would like to ask you to continue to focus on being your best. Look at these areas of health, family, career, spiritual, personal, fun, and recreation. This has been Ricky Tucker along with Gwendolyn Tucker. Remember to always be your best.